Super Mario RPG was always one of my favorite games of all time. It still is, even after that happened. That fateful night when my view of the game would change forever. One night I got tired of playing the games I've been working on lately, Minecraft, Team Fortress 2 and stuff. I wanted something older and I thought, what better than my old favorite Mario RPG? In fact, I even been neglecting my webcomic of it lately. I decided to play for a little bit, and it would get me in the mood to work on a new comic. I dug out my SNES and my box full of games and hooked it up. Normally I just would use just an emulator, but I wanted to feel the control in my hands. The WASD keyboard configuration was just tired to me. Anyway, I got it hooked up and looked through my games. Super Mario All-Stars, Super Metroid, Mario World, Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars. Found it. But when I picked it up, something was really weird. The cartridge was hot, and I mean really hot. It had never been done before, but there was no real explanation for it since it hadn't been used in months. And even though I should have been more concerned with why it was hot, I wanted to play with it. I put it in the system anyway and turned it on. Right away I noticed that something else was really unusual. Usually right after the Nintendo Square licensing a bit, there's usually a cutscene of Toadstool getting kidnapped by Bowser, and Mario opening his door, seeing her missing, and just jumps out to save the day. This time, however, it was totally different. Toadstool was sitting on the ground with the same flower patch, but she was crying, as if she was mourning. There was the usual happy music plays, but there was only crying sound effect. A sound I never heard in a game before, and Bowser never showed up. She just continued to cry. Soon Mario came out of his house and sat right beside her, looking sad, and put his arm around her. He wasn't crying though, trying to be tough. I didn't know what happened, but obviously they lost someone very close. The camera panned up to the sky and faded to white. The screen faded back into Mario in his house, doing various things, watching his face at the sink and looking over the sink and sighing. Sitting at the breakfast table was a place set for a second person across from him. He stared emptily at the seat before breaking into tears. At this point I knew who they lost. It was Luigi. Mario was getting ready to go out went for his hammer on the wall. He paused when he saw the one next to it underlined Luigi. He looked like he was going to well up again, but instead just grabbed his hammer and pulled down his hat and left. The cutscene then cut back to Toadstool in their bedroom in the castle. She sat down on the bed and sighed, brushing her hair and looking out of the window. That's when it faded to the title screen. Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Screams. This was wrong. I'd never seen these sprites in this game ever. And just because of making a comic I'd seen very one. Even the usual hidden unused sprites. 7 Screams? I wanted to shut the game off because something was seriously wrong, but I was intrigued. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know what Mario was going to do next and why Luigi was dead or who was responsible. I had to hit start. The file screen on this selection was the same, only Mario's sprite that you used to select your file didn't have the old dumpy smile he always has. He looked pissed and there was only one file. All the files were gone, and I got pretty much far on all of them, which the ones had completed games on them. The file that remained was called Payback. I selected the file and Mario jumped off the screen like he usually does. The game faded with Mario outside of his house, and he usually did have dialogue, but he never spoke in this game. Not one line, but it was speaking it, and it wasn't pretty. Mario, how could this happen? My own brother taken from me. I'm gonna do something. They have to pay. I would have loved my character now. The sign above Mario's door that once said Pipe House now said Mario and Luigi, with Luigi's name crossed out. I went inside out of curiosity. Everything was different because there was 2 of everything. There were 2 beds, each with a nightstand and lamp. Mario was the one with the green blanket, and Luigi was the red one. It was nice to see some contrast there. I knew that this would be the case, because if I had to turn off Luigi's lamp, it would say, Luigi doesn't want me sleeping in his bed. I've got business to resolve anyway. I left the house and went for the overworld map. There wasn't much of it though. There was a large chunks that looked like they'd been blown apart by the explosion of some sort. Mushroom Way was luckily intact, so I selected Mushroom Way and went in. Everything looked totally different. The dense forests and vines looked like they'd been burned away, and there was charred enemies on the ground, some with mangled faces, and some with torn in half with actual blood, which was never ever seen in a Mario game. I got through the first screen, and then the second screen wasn't much better. The hills were flattened, the once spinning flowers were piles of ash. Once again there were enemies everywhere on the ground, and the full heal block was still there, even though I didn't need it now. I hadn't though until I had to check Mario's status. I opened the menu, went to status, and selected Mario. Mario had 20 out of 20 health, and already his hammer, which I didn't think it was weird considering everything else. His other stats were normal too, except one. His attack, defense, magic attack, magic, defense were all normal, except there was a new one. Rage, and it was all in red. That made me look into Mario's sprite again, and he looked pissed. I closed that out of my mind and continued to play. At the end of Mushroom Way, there was a boss, but he wasn't alive. It was a skeleton of the Hammer Bro, once blocking the way, burnt flesh fused to bones. I inspected the skeleton and Mario to step close, and had his hand on for a second. I stepped back and smashed into pieces with the hammer. I was so shocked after seeing it. It was making such an interesting story. I couldn't stop playing. I continued to the Mushroom Kingdom, but it didn't get much better from there. Mushroom Kingdom was in ruins. Walls to all the houses were crumbled. Toads were even wandering, looking around some sick and injured. The place looked like Hiroshima after the A-bomb. There was no music. Faint wailing could be heard in the background. I tried to talk to one of the people since it was the first NPC interaction so far. He didn't say anything but nothing. I tried another. She said, "Why did you come back? Is there another attack coming?" At this point I was crying. I couldn't take what I was seeing. I had to stop and come back later. I went to the end to see if the save block was there, and it wasn't, come to think of it. None of the save blocks were there, only one by Mario's pad. If I recall correctly, there was supposed to be one on Mushroom Way. I think it wants me to play until the end. I paused and took a break anyway. During that time, I was thinking about what the games I was doing, and why it was going to be a new story, you're telling me? Well, what happened to the Mushroom Kingdom? Did Luigi die in front of those attacks? I guess I'll have to find out when I play it again. I got back to the game. I usually turn off the TV when I had a game paused so my dad wouldn't get after me for leaving stuff unattended. I turned on the TV and there was a message on my screen. "You left the game. I wouldn't recommend doing that again." I was freaking out again. I had to catch my breath, but I bypassed the message, unpaused the game, and started again. The first place I wanted to go to was the item shop to see what kind of items that the new game had. But when I got down there, at the front of the door to the shop was boarded shut. There was a note on the door. I read the note and it said, "Item shop closed indefinitely by owner. Sorry for any inconvenience. I'm just too scared to keep going on any longer." I half expected that. The mean old shop owner was a coward anyway. I see some people's personalities haven't been altered at all. The only real change I've seen so far is Mario. Not really a whole lot, but that can do for now. I go up to the castle to see the princess. When I got there, I was glad to see the castle didn't get too much damage like the rest of the town. The other two guards who usually stand outside the door were gone. I guess they assumed the offended numbers and went elsewhere. Once I was inside, I spotted Toad, immediately intact, and scolded for not being there sooner. "Toad, Mario, where have you been? The princess had been worried sick about you. I mean, I would have gone to retrieve you myself, but Mushroom Way lately's been so how are you holding up?" Mario, "Better than you could probably imagine. Where's Toadstool?" Toad, "She's in her room, but I recommend you see the Chancellor first. I'll call her down for you." I moved forward to the main hall where the Chancellor actually was. The room was a wreck. The red carpet was ripped up, curtains torn off by broken windows, holes in the floor, even dead Toads lying still in places. Everybody's alive, leapt up from their positions as I walked inside. Chancellor, oh my spores, Mario. I'm so glad you are here. There's no way to say it. It's oblique. There's not a lot we can do right now. Or probably ever. Mushroom Kingdom, as far as we know, may be done for. Mario, I don't care. There, I say it. I just don't care anymore. I set it out again to defeat the powerful evil, but not for any of you. My brother's dead and it's their fault. I want to find the person who did this and peel the flesh from his bones. Then I'll rip out his eyes and show myself to them, as I can see how ugly he is on the inside. I'll rip out his heart, assuming he has one, and the hammer is going to get me there. Chancellor, now Mario, that's a bit dark for you. What's come over you? He inched closer to Mario, and Mario took another step back, and then a step back before I couldn't believe it. He swung his hammer at him, and he hit him with all of his might. Even with the sprite so small and pixelated, I could tell what happened. He broke the Chancellor's neck, and a small amount of blood came from his mouth, which took most of the damage. The impact happened in slow motion almost. All the other Toads just watched in horror as a used-to-be hero killed their leader in cold blood. Toad, what if we don't have Mario anymore? What hope do we have? Everyone started crying, and Mario turned and left the room. This game was really depressing me. In the next room, Toadstool was waiting for him. Toadstool, I saw what you did. Why? Mario, I don't even know. You know this isn't me. But I think after that little display, I'm a lost cause. I should leave and never come back. I'm sorry. Toadstool, what? Wait, Mario, this city's at a lost cause. I think you did a favor and put out the little misery of a little faster. Please take me with you. Mario, no, I can't lose two people close to me. Toadstool tried to respond one last time, but there was a rumbling, like a sword. Exor then came down and shook Bowser's keep, but it came from the next room. Mario and Toadstool went into the main hall, and above the Chancellor's body was a grotesque sci-fi alien I've ever seen. It was black and has long spider legs and a giant head. It was more as well as a sprite I've ever seen in the game, as in really high def compared to the rest. Toad, it came out of the Chancellor. Help us! It immediately started a battle. The first one I have started. It was the regular boss music. I was happy to hear the sound of familiar music for once. I got my A, B, X, Y options and was ready to attack. I tried X to get a jump attack, since some enemies have different weaknesses. I figured I'd test it out. I jumped and never got rusty at the timing because I got it perfectly. Except it did 0 damage. Now it was his turn to attack back, and that's just what happened. I knew what to expect. It jumped on Mario and mauled him to death, dealing out 20 damage, my max HP. I was killed in one hit and the music slowed down to a halt, as it does when all your party members die. The battle was over in one turn. I thought it might be a story event, but it turned out it was. I got out of battle and the alien was standing over Mario. He picked him up with his mouth and swallowed them whole. Toadstool and everyone else could only watch in horror as the screen faded to black. The look of utter shock on my face was unimaginable. Why would someone do this? Who would think up such a horrible ending for a Mario game? It faded back to black with Toadstool, all remaining Toads in Nimbus Land, which I am assuming was the only safe place left, holding a memorial service for Mario. The credits began to roll with no sound at all, just silence with people in the black background crying their eyes out, and a wreath with Mario's picture on it. I kept it for the whole credits in case if something happened at the end, and I was right to keep it in mind. The thing I was expecting at least it was Luigi. He poked his head out with a shot of an evil grin on his face. He giggled loud in my speakers that the screen went black. I kept it on longer to see if anything else would happen, and nothing did. I turned off the game and turned it back on, but it was gone. My game was back to normal. My save files were back. Mario was happy again. I started a file which I was continuing in Smithy's factory, which I looked at everyone else's status. There was no rage. It was as if his madness never happened. In all way, I was glad. In a way, because I wanted to see if that story would have gone off. Well, if it's too late to think about it now, that's because it hasn't done. but I didn't know that system was trying to tell me, but it was sure something scary to think about. Well, that, my pretties, was Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Screams. A Mario game creepypasta. I mean, I haven't done a Mario game pasta in like so long. I mean, I can't remember when the last time I did a Mario related story. Might have been maybe sometime last year. I can't remember. But, this is actually good that I'm actually touching this story now, since I have been trying to see if I can find maybe another Mario pasta that I personally like, and or personally think that's pretty good potential. So, anyways, I'm going to be reviewing this story, but before I do that, I want to say right now that the author of this story is the author is Mattboy115. Uh, excuse me. My final thoughts on this story? Well, I do have some things that I do need to say about this, because a lot of people that have reviewed this story actually don't like it. I think I can see, there was some issues with the story that kind of explains, why the story is the way it is. But let me go on with that, all right? And explain more in the detail. Now, I don't know what really is the problem with this story, first of all. But that's because a lot of people, I've seen a couple narrations and they said this story was not good. But, in my honest opinion, it's a pretty good creepypasta. Pretty good Mario creepypasta, at least in my honest opinion. I will leave a link to the story down in the description below, so if you guys want to go check this story out, you're more than welcome to do so. But one thing definitely have to say was, like, I appreciate the good storyline about this pasta, and for a gaming pasta, this story honestly is better than any other gaming pasta out there. I know there's a couple other gaming pastas that are good, but there's definitely this one, which is definitely a pretty good gaming pasta. I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely a really good gaming pasta, especially with the flow and the plot, and especially how everything went out. That is saying a whole lot. And that's personally from what I'm seeing personally, because I was surprised and stunned of how good this creepypasta really is. It generally was definitely a good one to read. Since this story actually does contain, some blood and gore, but it actually works really better with this story. I mean, I know that tends to be used quite a lot in gaming pastas and even other creepypastas in general, but this story actually manages to use the blood cliche in a really formal manner as to what exactly was going on in the story. I mean, it's not sit there just for the sake of, being there. It's not because of that. Because most gaming pastas or creepypastas in general tend to use that quite often. The story itself also wasn't scary, but it does have a little unnerving parts to make, the story creepy in of its own self, and it actually flows out well. Like, I mean, for saying and explaining what had been going on, this actually explains a lot in full detail, and it definitely has gotten pretty well done in views. I mean, I've seen some people narrate this pasta. I don't get why some people don't like it, but, that's just their opinion. And the fact is that there's a little bit of an offers note at the end saying that the offer is planning to do like a revised version of it. This is like the 2015 version. I'm reading it, but of course, with this one, I can definitely see a lot of good things went on with the story. I mean, I thought it was enjoyable for creepypasta standards. Now, I don't even know if I've even found the 2019 version, but it's probably pretty much the same thing. But at the same time, I don't really have anything negative about the story, but I definitely can see it being a really good creepypasta. It was interesting. It definitely kept me on watching. And honestly, I still don't get why some people don't like this story, but like I always continue to say, this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas. This is just simply my own personal thoughts. I'm gonna give this story a 10 out of 10. I thought it was a really good Mario creepypasta. I know there's a couple other ones out there, but I personally thought this was a pretty good story. So, as always, what did you guys personally think of this creepypasta? I will leave a link to the story down in the description down below, so if any of you guys are interested in checking the story out, you can. I don't even know if the revised version of this story is any different from this one, but it's most likely the same thing. But anyways, what did you guys personally think of this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better. Feel free to let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Also, if I'm missing something that I did not talk about in this video, please let me know what it is in the comments below. And as always, I'm the Lion Queen. Thank you so much for watching today's video. And if you're new to my channel, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to any uploads. So that way you guys will not miss an upload. As always, if you want to go follow me on DeviantArt, link to my DeviantArt will be in the About page section, so you guys can go check that out. Also, if you're interested in following my Twitter page, link to my Twitter page will be in the About page section, so you guys can go check that out. Also, if you're interested in subscribing to my backup channel known as Miss Dark Shigo, link to that will also be in the About page section, so you guys can go check that out if you want. So, yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I have to say, but if I'm missing something, let me know what is in the comments below. And as always, I'll be seeing you guys all in the next video. Like always, roll the outro, because I'm out.